Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and today we're looking at business research, and we're going to be continuing from the previous lessons. So we'll be taking the register. So we're going to cover research methodology today, and we're going to be looking at the difference between research method and the difference between research methodology, the structure of the methodology chapter, and delivering the methodology chapter. So by the end of the session, you should be able to differentiate between research method and research methodology, understand the structure of research methodology, and know what goes into each section of the research methodology chapter. So the research methodology. What is the difference between the two, the research method and research methodology? So when we think about the research method, it is the techniques, the methods for conducting the research. Quantitative, qualitative research. Are you going to be doing primary research? Are you going to be doing secondary research? Are you going to be doing a questionnaire? Are you going to be doing a structured questionnaire, open-ended questionnaire? And so all these type methods that we've looked at in the previous slides before. When we look at the research methodology, it is the systematic process to solve the question, the research question that guides the study, according to Saunders, Lewis and Thornhill, 2012. So, structure of a dissertation or project, or business project, list down the structure of a dissertation or business project. So try and, before you actually start, see if you can list down what you think your structure should consist of. So structure of the dissertation or research project should be the abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, findings, the discussion, conclusions, and obviously in-text referencing as you go along, and bibliography or referencing list at the end, according to Harvard Business Style we're using. So structure of the methodology chapter. So if you can try and list down what you think should be in the methodology, the process for carrying out your research topic. So it includes an introduction, the research philosophy, the research method, the research approach, the data collection method, the degree of reliability, validity, and generalization ability, method of data analysis, ethics, limitations of methodology, conclusion. Okay, again, take into consideration introduction, research philosophy, research design, reliability, methods, ethics, limitation, and conclusion. Okay? So structure of the methodology, introduction section would be aims of the chapter, why the methodology chapter is so important, and summary of the structure of the chapter. Research philosophy would be, is a belief about the way in which the data about a phenomenon is gathered, analysed, and used. Ontology, in terms of research philosophy, deals with the question or what is real, or deals with the nature of reality. Epistemology is the study of the nature of knowledge and the process by which knowledge is acquired and validated. And we've got exology, refers to how the researcher sees the role of the value of the research. So we've got different philosophies. The research paradigm is described as the underlying assumptions and intellectual structure upon which research and developments in the field of inquiry is based, or a set of beliefs and feelings about the world and how it should be understood and studied. When we look at the research methods, which we've kind of looked at before, you've got quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods, and this will be discussed later, but we have also reviewed this before in terms of quantitative methods and qualitative methods. Qualitative methods to try and find out how people feel and why people do things. Quantitative methods to find statistical answers to different variables, to find out statistical information by taking a small sample from the total population that is large enough to make inferences, and to provide kind of like predictions of what might happen or how the bigger population might act, but not always correct. Research approach, as we looked at before and we talked about in the first week, can be deductive, more top down, more statistical or more quantitative based, or it can be more inductive, which is more bottom up, which is more qualitative, geared towards qualitative research. And we also need to look at the research strategy in terms of, is it going to be experiment, survey questionnaire, case study, action research, grounded theory, ethnography, archival research strategies. So what is going to be the research strategy? Data collection method, primary research, questionnaires, interviews, focus groups, observation, and secondary research data collection. So we also need to look at the reliability, the validity, and the generalizability. So reliability in terms of consistency, validity in terms of the measures, what it tends to measure. And validity in qualitative research involves determining the degree to which researchers' claims about knowledge correspond to the reality, or research participants' construction of reality being studied. So generalizability describes the extent to which research findings can be applied to settings other than that in which they were. Ethics describes the CU ethical process, why ethics is important, and a soft copy data store on server with password, hard copy stored on the lock and key, an application of ethics, online registration, forms, information sheet, consent form, risk assessment forms, and approved, rejected, with minor corrections, major corrections, so on and so forth. So if we look at the limitation of the methodology chapter, this will basically depend on the research method being adopted in terms of being either quantitative or qualitative. So qualitative or quantitative. So what you should do is spend a little bit of time and to think about the limitations in terms of the methodology chapter in terms of qualitative and quantitative methods and how it impacts upon your research study. Outline the dissertation write-up. This study was based on the approach of, so can you outline your dissertation write-up? So it was based on your approach, your study was based on what approach? And your study was chosen because, why did you choose your approach? And what do you think your approach is likely to achieve? Other researchers, authors have used this method approach too. And alternative approaches, methods, were not used because. So we have an activity here. So let's start to develop the methodology, chapter of our proposals. So let's see, can you start to develop your methodology chapter, the sections at least, and see what areas you'd put in more detail in terms of, you can put bullet points under each heading. There's a video here for research methodology as well. And conclusions, we can see, to write regularly. Do some free writing when you're thinking. Define the method. method of inquiry, and justify the method, define the instrument, and show the links between the method and other research work. You must show this link. So thank you today from Mr. Tan.